everyone, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Ari and I'm the host of this podcast. And if you are new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. I am basically a book podcast. I'm just a young teen who likes to read and review books on my podcast. And in this week's episode, I'm going to be doing just that. I'm going to be reviewing a middle grade graphic novel, and it is called Cradle, the Golden Twine. And this is by Jo Rioux. So super quick, before I talk about the review and kind of what you can expect from this amazing middle grade graphic novel, I just want to give a really cool kind of like fun fact that basically if you're like, wait, I've heard that name before, Cradle, that's an older book. It actually is an older book. This book was first published in 2012, which I know is quite a while back, and the reason why it's now new and published like a year or two ago is because the first one that was published in 2012 was actually a different illustrator, but now this new and wonderful version is both written and illustrated by Jo, and I personally loved it. I know I say that for like basically every book I read, but there was something so special about this book because I don't think I have ever read a middle grade graphic novel with the same storyline. Actually, I know for a fact that I've never read a book like this, so let's go ahead and jump into exactly what you can expect from this middle grade book. So this book, Cradle, the Golden Twine, is the first book in the series. The second book actually just came out this year, so very new, very fresh. And this first book follows the main character, and her name is Suri. So Suri loves monsters. I feel like that is the easiest way to put it. Suri just loves monsters so much that she wants to be a monster hunter. Because who doesn't, right? Like if you love monsters, of course you're going to want to be a monster hunter. So she wants to be a monster hunter, but unfortunately, not everyone around her really supports that and believes that a little girl that's an orphan can be a monster hunter to try and protect her family that she lives around. And by family, I kind of mean a camp that she goes with and follows around. So her family is actually a merchant camp that she follows from town to town wherever they go. She basically just stays with them, and everywhere she goes, she tells stories about monsters for a fee, of course, to make some extra cash on the side. And then every once in a while, she'll try to go catch a monster. So in this particular little city or village that they're in, there is a new wagon that comes to join their camp, and it holds this big black monster. We don't know what it is, we just know that it's there for a reason because they're gonna sell it off to someone else, and while it's there, Suri wants to see what it is and see if she can try to tame it or catch it. So basically one day she's telling these kids about the monster that's there because it's like right next to them in the wagon, and they dare her to go like touch it and try to tame it. So she does, and then it like growls at her and they all run off because they got scared. But then later on, chaos strikes, I guess. Something bad happens. The monster gets loose. And basically that's the story. It's her and then these other monsters, or like kind of monsters, try to kidnap her. They're like a certain type of monsters. They're actually the ones on the cover of the book. There's 3 of them. And they're trying to catch her. And then the big monster, the black one that was unexpected and big that came to their camp, the one that was in the wagon, it maybe helps her or like helps defend her. And it's just a really great story about monsters and like finding a new family and friendship. And it was just super cute because, like I was saying earlier, I've never seen or read anything like it because it's about monster hunting. And I've never read a graphic novel, especially a middle grade graphic novel, that's about a little girl who wants to go monster hunting and then like gets taken by monsters and then possibly gets like saved by monsters. So if you like monsters, if you like adventure, if you like fantasy, and if you like anything that has to do with family or new family and friendship and stuff like that, then this is definitely the middle grade graphic novel for you. And I just cannot recommend it more. It's so great. It was such a quick read. It's like barely over 100 pages, which is wonderful. Like I read it so quickly, and usually when it's like short books, I always say that I didn't want it to end. And while I did not want this book to end, it did end like kind of satisfying. It did leave off on a cliffhanger, but I was very satisfied with how it ended because I think it answered all of my questions throughout the story, and just all around it was an amazing story. I really liked it. I really enjoyed myself while I read it. I read it like in an hour. I just sat down and read it, and I was totally in the story. Like I was not in my actual world. I was in there with Suri, running from the monsters, trying to catch monsters. It was just an incredible read. I really recommend it, you guys. Be sure to go check it out by either clicking the link in this episode description or by checking it out on her Instagram. But yeah, Jo Rioux did a wonderful job with this book, especially with her illustrations. The illustrations were wonderful. They were so good. The monsters were so like monstery, I guess you could say. I don't really know. I just think they were so creative, unlike any other monsters I've ever seen. And I love the main monster. I forgot his name, but basically basically I want my own of the main monster, the big black one that's new to the camp. I don't want to spoil anything because you don't find out who the monster is till the end, but I want my own. Oh my gosh, I want my own so bad. But yeah, wonderful book, really recommend it. And then the second book that actually just came out this year, I believe it was like a month or two ago, or maybe even last month. I don't know for sure. I don't want to get anything wrong, but I do know that it was this year in 2023, and it's called Cat's Cradle and the Mole King's Lair. And of course, it is also written and illustrated by Jo Rioux, the amazing author and illustrator. I love Jo's illustrations and her storyline. They're wonderful. I cannot wait to read the second book because I've actually not read it yet, but I'm so excited to read it. I'm going to read it here soon, so I'm super excited for that. But basically, just to tell you guys a little bit about the new one that just came out, it basically picks up where the first one ended, and I kind of really can't tell you exactly what the second one is about because it'll mess up the end of the first one. But basically, the second book just picks up right where the first one left off, and they're on this new adventure and new journey with some new friends and maybe some new like kind of family. So that is what the second book is about. It's just another fun adventure with monsters and like magic and monster hunting. So if you want more of Cat's Cradle, if you have read the first one, or if you do read the first one and you're like, I want more, there is more for you. The second one, Cat's Cradle, the Mole King's Lair. Like I said, it's super new. It just came out. So be sure to also check this out by clicking the link in my episode description to purchase the first and second book. The first one was amazing, so I'm sure the second one is going to be amazing. If there was like amazing-er, I'm sure the second book is going to be amazing-er. I know that's not a word, but I just invented it. Amazing-er. There you go. But yeah, I just really enjoyed reading the first book. Like I said, I think the second book is going to be amazing-er. And now, you guys, it's time for the interview for this week's episode. I know, give a little round of applause. I know I didn't have an interview for you guys for my last episode, but we do have one now, and it's actually in a different kind of format. So I was not able to get actual audio responses. I didn't get to do a live interview with Jo Rioux, but I did get a different kind of interview, which I think is very exciting. It's something new. It's not something I'm going to be staying with for all of my other interviews. It might happen again, but it's not like planned to be my new type of interview. But basically, it's a written interview. She sent me her responses through text, like not literal text, but like through text, like words. And I'm going to go ahead and read her responses, and I'm super excited because this is like new for me, so I love trying new things. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into this interview. So the first question I had for Jo was what inspired her to become an author/illustrator and create her own graphic novels, or really her own stories and works of art to share with the world. So what inspired her? She told me that honestly, she just could not imagine herself doing anything else. She just wanted to create art and share stories with the world. And she said there is something that compels her to just draw and create stories for others to share. They just come out of her like naturally. It's just like such an exciting thing for her to do. She loves doing it. And then she also said that she has loved drawing for so many years. She said she has basically been drawing since she could hold a pencil, which I think is so adorable because usually people, when you get a pencil, you start to just like scribble and write. In my case, I basically did like coding. I was like doing ones and zeros, which don't ask me why. But when she first got a pencil, she started drawing, and I'm sure they were like the cutest things ever. And then she said here, with that experience of starting to draw at such a young age, she became an illustrator before she became an author. She said that the reason was not only because she was drawing since she could pick up a pencil, but also because she thinks it's harder, and I completely agree with her, to actually create a story. And she told me, she was like, you can look at all the books, you can watch all of YouTube videos, just basically go anywhere for help to try to build a story and create a story, but seeing it and doing it are two very different things. And that's why she said she became an illustrator before an author, because it was just something that did not come naturally to her at the beginning. And she said that to actually write a story that speaks or sings to a reader, she feels is more like alchemy. And then she told me that she uses her intuition so much when she writes, and she thinks like, does this scene excite me? Does this reaction feel true and authentic? And then if her gut tells her no, then she trusts her gut to go with no, and she actually doesn't end up going with that. So I thought that was a very interesting way to put it, how like basically if it does not excite her, if she does not feel like it's gonna be exciting when she reads it, if she were to read it and she were not the creator of it, then she's not gonna put that out there for others to read. And I can see that because whenever I create things, if it's my podcast episodes or even other things I share with people, I need it to be something that I like or that I would be excited to see, for me to know that others could possibly be excited and happy to hear or see it. So I completely agree with her on that. I think that was a wonderful response to that question. And now moving on to the next question I asked her was where she got her story idea from. So obviously, like I said, it's about monster hunting. So I was just really curious as to where she got the idea from. Was it based on like a true event if she ever thought she saw a monster, or was it just something she wanted to write for fun. So I asked her, and she said that it was actually, funny enough, inspired by a real life event. Honestly, you guys, when I asked her that question, I was not expecting her to say that. So when she told me that it was actually inspired by like a real life event, I was shocked and just wanted to hear what she had to say, as I'm sure you guys are too. And she said that it's inspired by a real life event, or actually a recurring event is what she told me. She said a recurring event. So she told me that when she was younger, she knew this dog. It was her partner's family dog, and this dog that she's talking about was a huge 60-pound pit bull. Oh, honestly, I'm kind of a bit scared of pit bulls. I'm sure they're so sweet and everything, but they're so big, and my dad did not have a good experience with pit bulls, so he's scared of them, and therefore made me scared of them. But anyway, she said this dog was a huge 60-pound pit bull, and he thought he was a tiny little lap dog. You know what? My grandma actually has a dog. He's a big dog too. I don't know how much he weighs, but he's like a really big dog. I'm actually kind of scared of him, and he also thinks he's a lap dog. He just wants to like lick you all day and then sit on your lap, and he's so huge. But anyway, she said that he thought he was a tiny little lap dog when in reality he was a 60-pound pit bull. And then she said whenever she'd sit on the floor to watch TV or play her video games, he'd always come over to her, collapse on top of her just to try and act like a little lap dog, and then he would refuse to get up because, as all dogs do, and even cats, once they lay down, they're like, oh no, I'm staying here. I'm just gonna sit here and lay here for however long I want to. One day, as she was lying there with the dog suffocating her, she tried to kind of like bargain with him to get off of her, and she basically said, if you'll just get off of me, one day I'll take you to the land of giants where you can finally be a lap dog. And she said that she can't remember if saying that actually worked for him to get up, but the idea stayed with her, and that was the spark that started this whole series, the Cat's Cradle series. So thank you to that 60-pound pit bull, because if it weren't for you, buddy, we would not be here. I would not be here reviewing this book. Many readers would not be enjoying this book, so thank you. I really appreciate you. And I forgot to mention also, the name of her dog is actually a name of the dog kind of character in the book. So once again, I do not want to say the name because I don't want to mess it up for you guys when you read it, because then you'll know exactly who it is and everything. But basically, when you read this book, if you come across a dog-like character and they say the name, just know that that is actually the real-life dog that she got the inspiration from. So that's super cute, so cool to know. And now the next question I have here for her is, when she was brainstorming her amazing books, was Suri's character, which Suri is the main character, was her character based on like her as a person, or was she just like a fictional character that she created for this specific series? And she told me that in a way she feels that all of her characters carry some piece of herself, but beyond that she wouldn't really say that she's actually based on her. But I just thought that that was cute that she said she does feel like all of her characters carry some piece of her, which I completely agree with, because in reality she created them, so they're always going to be her characters, which means that they're always going to have a piece of her, like she said. And she said that she actually went through quite an evolution. When she first started writing the story, Cat's Cradle, she had written Suri as a shy, thoughtful, reluctant character. She did not expect her to be as she is in the books, which is basically very brave and daring and like very independent, so basically the exact opposite. And then she said that when she found she was almost like dragging her through the plot, she wasn't having fun writing her story, and she believed that if you want to write a story, which I believe too, you have to be having fun with it. If you're the creator of it, you have to be having fun with it and you have to be enjoying it. So she said that when she felt like she was dragging her character through the plot, she believed that it had to be fun and creative if she wanted others to think the same thing. So she basically decided to flip her personality around and made her the opposite of what she was. She was not shy anymore. She was brave. She was independent. Basically all the words I used earlier, the words that she said was brash, plucky, and quick to anger, but quick to forgive. And when she changed her character to that, she was having like a blast writing her in that story. It was so much more fun. Her character almost wrote itself, because after she flipped the character around, her character felt right in a way to where it like wrote itself, which is such a amazing feeling, like for anything, when you're working on something and it's just like dragging and not working and you're like, what can I do to fix this? And then you finally find a solution, and it's just like basically everything from there is so easy and so much fun because it actually feels right. So I know what that feeling is like. I love that feeling. It just like brings you such happiness knowing that you feel so confident in it and that you think it's such a great thing. And honestly, you guys, Suri's character was amazing. I loved her character. It was so inspiring and I want to be like her. I want to go catch some monsters. I want to be brave. And yeah, she said that that was like the funny thing about characters. When you find a good one, like I was saying, they tell you the story, not the other way around. She said that it felt like she wasn't even writing the story and Suri was like writing the story for her, which like I said, it's such an amazing feeling. But now moving on to the last question I have for her. You guys know I always try to do a fun question as the last question to get to know them more personally, and this is kind of in relation to her book, which of course the book is about monster hunting. So I asked her what is the one thing she was scared of, and she told me 3 things come to mind right away, and she said tornadoes, sharks, and centipedes in that order, which I thought was hilarious because I love how she said in that order. So thank you, Jo, for giving me a top 3. And honestly, those are all things to be scared of. Tornadoes.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter.
Yes, I'm scared of any weather type thing. Obviously not with rain or anything like that, but anything that goes beyond like a bad storm. And even bad storms, they can be scary because they can actually change your life if they're bad enough. I'm scared of hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, stuff like that. So I definitely do agree with you on that. Sharks. I do like sharks. I think they're very beautiful animals. I feel like they're misunderstood in a way because technically whenever you're in their ocean, it's their home. It's like if they came onto our land and we started attacking them because it's our land. So I am scared of sharks, but I do think that they are very beautiful creatures, but I'm honestly just an animal lover. So that's why I love every animal, or actually not every animal, because now leading on to her 3rd fear, centipedes. I hate bugs, so never mind. I do not love animals. I hate bugs so much. I hate them with a passion. You can ask any of my family members, whenever I go outside, if even a fly or mosquito flies by my ear, like that noise, or when like it hits your ear or your hand or your body, that is disgusting. They are nasty, and there's nothing you can tell me to change my mind about that. They're so disgusting. They're so nasty. I hate most insects. Even like butterflies scare me because they're scary. I hate moths too. Anyway, this episode's not about me talking about the bugs I hate, but yeah, I definitely do agree with those 3 fears. I think they are very legitimate and very, like, what's the word? Like, they're logical? Is that the word? You know, I'm trying to say that they're very, like, they're legitimate fears or, like, actual fears or things that people can actually be scared of. Anyway, that was a roller coaster. But yeah, that was the interview that I got to do with the amazing and wonderful author and illustrator, Jo Rioux. So you guys, be sure to go check out her amazing books, Cat's Cradle, book 1 and 2. The first one was so great. I'm so excited for the second one. I'm sure it's going to be just as great, if not better. So be sure to go check them out, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And book lovers, always remember, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will see you guys very soon for another fun, spooky author episode. Bye, friends!